Do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created? Here on Earth?
Have you ever watched a movie that you know is so bad, but no matter what anyone says about it, you'll defend it for your life? That's pretty much how I feel about 2003's The Cat in the Hat.
Oh yeah!
Oh, The Cat in the Hat. A film so bad that Dr. Seuss's widow banned anyone from making any live-action adaptations of his work again. It's actually fucking crazy. After the box office success of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Universal Studios decided to give it another go on making a live-action adaptation of Dr. Seuss's work, and well, it did not pan out the way they thought it would.
Look, I'm a girl. Hooray.
This movie is an absolute mess, and I honestly question what the filmmakers were trying to aim for with this. I guess they wanted to replicate the same success that The Grinch had, but this movie takes it to a whole nother level. This movie is extremely disrespectful to the original book. And my god, is it absolutely glorious to watch. On November 21st, 2003, we were gifted with this masterpiece by the film gods. While I didn't see it in theaters when it came out, I watched a ton of it on DVD. It was honestly something I liked watching as a kid and nothing else. After years passed though, I would revisit this movie from my childhood that I remember fondly. I checked to see that it had extremely bad reviews, but this movie from my childhood couldn't be that bad, right?
Where's my dad? Sorry.
This movie is an absolute disaster, but it's also kind of a masterpiece. This is something where it gets everything wrong, but it's also hysterical to watch it unfold. This isn't your average so bad it's good movie. This is something a little bit different. So let's dive into this mess and why I would consider it a cinematic masterpiece.
Let's get this party started. Hairball.
So in the original book, the story follows two kids that get a visit from the Cat in the Hat himself while their mom is out. The cat causes a mess and eventually cleans it up just in time for the mom to come home. It's a basic story, but with Dr. Seuss's rhymes, it has become an iconic children's book that is still talked about till this day. The plot couldn't really work here for a movie because, let's be honest, if they did that, it would be like 10 minutes, so they definitely expanded upon it a bit. So the movie follows the mom setting up a party for the company she works for at her house, which is a hand sanitizer company for some reason. But if the party isn't a success, she gets But when she's called back into work, she leaves her two kids home, making sure they don't cause a mess before the party. As this happens, the Cat in the Hat appears in the house and causes a huge mess, just like in the books. However, he kinda does more than that here. There's also a weird subplot with Alec Baldwin's character that absolutely hates the son's character and wants to send him to military school. I guess they wanted a villain character in the story, but it comes off more hilarious than anything.
The living room. Okay, dude.
Honestly, it kind of feels like they thought rather than make a faithful adaptation from the book, they just said, you know what, fuck it. What if we just made a parody of The Cat in the Hat instead? And that's what it kind of feels like here. It feels like a parody of the work rather than something that wanted to be faithful to the original piece of work. It's kind of the lens you should watch this movie from to get the complete experience. If you watch this expecting it to respect Dr. Seuss's work, then I got bad news for you. But if you watch this as a parody, it kind of makes the movie work in that way. Unless you're Dr. Seuss's widow.
Aren't you precious?
Of course, with the plot expanded upon, they had to expand the characters also. We have the two kids, Conrad and Sally, played by Spencer Preston and Dakota Fanning, and they're given things to do, like Conrad being kind of a piece of shit that doesn't listen, and Sally being a know-it-all asshole. But by the end of the movie, they learn to work together and admit their wrongdoings, even though a giant cat came in to start stirring the shit. But, you know, at least they admitted their mistakes and worked together. The mom is played by Kelly Preston, who works at the hand sanitizer company, and honestly, she doesn't really do that much here. She does have this scene though, which I always found kind of funny.
I wish I had a different mom.
Well, sometimes I wish the same thing.
You also have Sean Hayes here, who plays the hand sanitizer boss and this freaky ass thing. The hand sanitizer boss is a clean freak, so if you're not clean around him, you get maybe this guy should have handled the COVID pandemic. And then we have this abomination that likes to be the voice of reason. I'm going to talk about the design of this thing a little bit later, because I have a few more things to say about it. We also have the Mrs. Kwan character, who's hired as the kid's babysitter and pretty much sleeps most of the movie. I will say though, she has one of the best lines in the movie.
You tell them, Guai Zhang. No more big government. rip his heart out.
And then we have, we can get into this later. Now we get into the real good characters with Alec Baldwin's character. He's probably one of the few actors here who is actually trying with his performance, even if it's totally overacted at some points. He also has some extremely weird scenes in this movie, which I feel like is satisfying someone's own fetish. Okay, which one of you wrote this scene, you sick fuck? Finally, we have the cat himself, Mike Myers, as the Cat in the Hat. After being in Austin Powers and Shrek, this should have been another iconic performance to add to his resume, and well, I guess it kinda is, but probably not the way he thought it would. Apparently he was obligated to appear in this movie because he didn't end up making a movie based off one of his SNL characters, so Universal was gonna sue, and pretty much it came down to either paying what he owed or him being in this. And we know what we got as a result. Apparently he absolutely hated being on set and barely talked to anyone, but I don't know, he kinda seems like he's having a little bit of fun here. I think. But with all that aside, how did his interpretation come out? You can tell the studio wanted another Jim Carrey Grinch performance, but here it's interesting. Or I guess you can consider it a masterpiece of a performance, depending how you look at it. It's honestly a very uncanny performance that's really hard to explain. I think watching it is the best way to experience it rather than telling. The one thing I can note is he keeps making this weird noise and laugh constantly throughout the movie. Seriously, here's a drinking game. Watch this movie and take a shot every time he either wheezes or does that laugh thing. You'll be guaranteed blackout drunk before it ends.
That's my mom.
Awkward. Yeah.
Yes.
As a kid watching this, a lot of these jokes just kind of went over my head and I didn't really think too much about them. But watching this as an adult, my god, I did not realize the amount of gold throughout this movie. There's an insane amount of adult jokes in this movie for some reason. Some executive really said, "Ah yes, one of the most popular kids books of all time, huh? Okay, we need to slap in as many adult jokes in as we can in this movie." And to be fair, The Grinch had them too, but in this movie, they really went all out here. It's honestly just baffling just hearing the amount of adult jokes that are in this movie. There's a hat boner joke, there's a Taiwanese parliament joke, which they took from a real meeting apparently. Like, why is this in the movie? There's also the dirty hoe joke, and oh my god, there's so much more I could talk about here.
Dirty hoe.
I'm sorry, baby. I love you.
Come on, cat.
It's all here. The amount of jokes in here is insane, but it's something you definitely have to witness for yourself to really appreciate. I also recommend checking out the deleted scenes for this movie because there's some interesting shit in there that is really funny to witness.
But you know, it's kind of wild that this scene was taken out, but they added the dirty hoe scene. I'm glad we got the dirty hoe scene back. Oh, what?
There he is.
Oh my god. Okay. I guess it was one adult joke or another. Jesus Christ.
Also, another way to enhance your experience with this movie is being drunk, because when you're drunk, this shit is more hilarious than it should be.
Anything. I'll get you, and I'll look like a bloody accident. Anything.
Holy fuck, is this movie terrifying. I never realized as a kid some of the horror elements that this movie contains, but my god does this film have some horrifying imagery. The cat costume itself looks pretty horrifying, and I'm not surprised at anyone getting terrified by it. Like, imagine getting tapped on the shoulder and seeing this motherfucker right behind you. Like, god damn, that's terrifying. He also has a fair share of disturbing shit he does, like the scene where he cuts off his tail. Like, why is this in the movie? He also threatens to murder a kid at some point, so that's great. And also this scene. Jesus fucking Christ. To be fair though, this costume is nothing compared to the monstrosity of Thing 1 and Thing 2. Like, what the fuck is this? Also, when I looked at the IMDb page for this movie, I found out that the voice actor for Homer Simpson voices one of the things, so that's some trivia for you.
41, hut, hut, hut. Oh my god!
But yeah, these things are genuinely more terrifying than the cat. The way they look and move around is genuinely disturbing. Like, how the fuck did this get approved to be in the movie? They feel like something that would be my sleep paralysis demon and appear in the corner of my room. Also, the fish looks very uncanny as well. There's just something about this fish design that kind of gives me the creeps. In the deleted scenes, you can find some disturbing shit in there as well.
Oh my god. That is so terrifying.
Honestly, if edited properly, you have a decent horror movie in your hands here. Just don't watch this on an edible. I'm speaking from personal experience here.
Hey, Rhode Island license plate. You never see those.
Okay, I kind of wanted to give this movie some credit for having some genuinely good things about it. I think the set design and costumes overall look good. Well, besides this thing. And these. But honestly, they didn't do a bad job at making it feel like this takes place in the Dr. Seuss world. It's honestly not too bad. Also, some fun trivia is that the cinematography for this movie was done by Emmanuel Lubezki, who's a 3-time Oscar winner. He's worked on movies like The Tree of Life, Birdman, and The Revenant, all movies that have some pretty good cinematography, so it's weird that he's in a movie like this. Also, the director Bo Welch is more well known as a production designer for movies like the Men in Black series, The Lost Boys, and Edward Scissorhands, and this is actually the only film that he's directed in his career. And funny thing, I watched Edward Scissorhands recently, and when his name came up, it felt like a Vietnam flashback got triggered in me. And that's all I have to say. Let's conclude this shit.
Hello, I was just, I really should be going.
Look, this movie is something else. This movie is an absolute mess. It's pretty much a disrespect to the book that came before it and literally does everything wrong in adapting a book into a live-action movie. But I have to give it major props for that. They created something that was so disrespectful to the original source material that it's amazing something like this even came out in the first place. There's actually a new Cat in the Hat animated movie coming out in 2026, and while it might be more faithful to the book, it's gonna lack the magic that this movie has. Did this movie lead us into basically never getting a live-action Dr. Seuss movie again? Yes, but the fact we were even blessed with this masterpiece is a miracle. It's a one-of-a-kind film that doesn't come around often. Go watch it if you haven't. It truly is a cinematic masterpiece. Also, how can you hate a movie that advertises its own theme park?
You mean like at Universal Studios? Cha-ching. Son of a bitch!